Okay, it says we're live. And then it's got my button down at the bottom to stop broadcast, so I think we'll try to hit our 10-minute window here.
Okay.
Okay.
9:44 is kind of when we're starting, so I guess 9:54, 9:55 is kind of when we'll end. So this week's question was discuss with your group which perspective or approach made the most sense to you. And
thanks for waiting, guys.
Oh,
there we are.
yay.
You made it. Hey, welcome.
Yay!
We're doing it. Okay, so this week's discussion was discuss with your group which perspective or approach made the most sense to you, considering the approaches and theories presented. Think about your own beliefs about leadership and how leaders can motivate followers to achieve goals. So I'll go ahead and start, and then we'll just kind of move from person to person, I think, to kind of get opinions shared.
Okay.
So obviously, I think the approach that seemed to really stand out in the book, since it had its own chapter, was the transformational approach. Seemed like that was kind of where the two chapters were leading us, kind of get to, I guess, the most popular version of leadership approaches nowadays, which I agreed with. I think, when you're looking at some of the examples like Steve Jobs and, some of the different leaders that they talk about in the chapters, I think, obviously that makes most sense, or at least it stands out to me the most, that that's the type of leader that people are drawn to these days. One of the things I liked about the book was that it talked about having kind of emotional intelligence and social intelligence, and being able to understand your followers, whether that's employees or whichever group you're leading, because I guess it doesn't always have to be business, but and I really like the idea of understanding the thoughts and feelings of the people that are around you, and that being an effective way to lead, and making followers feel like they want to follow you. So I like that portion of the book, and I think it kind of lends itself to the idea of my feelings toward it is, no matter, perception is reality for most people. Whether you think you're doing a good job or not, it really all comes down to how other people think you're doing the job. So understanding other people's opinions to your approaches, I think, is important, and being connected to that, I think, is critical. Diane, do you want to go next?
I really think that emotional intelligence play a big part in leadership, because basically everyone's not built the same, everyone's not wired the same, so you have to really be mindful of the different approaches and how everyone's going to react or take, because my perception of how something might be different than the perception of how it was delivered to them, to that person. So I really think that you really need to build on those emotional strength and know where to balance that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn that over to Taylor if you want to.
Okay, yeah. The approach that kind of made the most sense to me was the functional approach to leadership. The reason why I kind of chose this was because it's the idea that all members of the group can kind of perform the leadership functions. And I just like how anyone can be the leader, and it doesn't necessarily matter who does what. What matters is whether the task gets done. And in Chapter 3, there was a pretty good example that I liked. It was about 9/11 and how office workers carried injured colleagues down the stairs of the World Trade Center while firefighters rushed up to help the victims. And in this example, the colleagues are the leaders as well as the firefighters, because they took the initiative to start acting like a leader. And pretty much I just find this approach to make the most sense and be the most beneficial, especially like in a group setting, because I think in order to be successful in situations, it doesn't necessarily take just one person. It more or less takes a group for a team to act like leaders. And the functional model, leadership model, it also like shows the importance of like the study of the behaviors of other successful leaders to really get a good understanding on how to act in certain situations.
Bailey, do you want to answer that?
Kind of building on what you said, Kristen, too. To me, the transformational approach made the most sense because it really, to me, at least what I got from it, is that they're really innovative and really stress the importance of creativity, and I think that's really important when you're leading. They used a few examples, like bigger companies, and I think that's really important, to the success of your company as well as your team members. Our book says that the transactional leader is most concerned with the satisfaction of psychological safety and belonging needs. So not only, are they concerned with the success of the company, but also, those of their employees or team members, And I think that's really important. Also, they constantly challenge the status quo by seeking out new ideas, products, and ways of performing tasks. And it was kind of talking about how important it was that, you're constantly changing, within that company. And I think that's really, important for a leader to be able to recognize that, and seek out new ways to be successful.
Yeah. Gina, did you want to go?
Yeah, I can. Thank you. I can agree with the transformational leadership. Raising awareness of moral standards, highlight important priorities. I think being inclusionary, the leader being inclusionary of the thoughts of the employees, followers is really important. Transformational leaders create an ethical climate. They have shared values with a group, high ethical standards. So I feel that that's the type of leader that I strive to be, by using authentic, consistent means, persuasive appeals, based on reason. So part of my thought is mostly that inclusionary aspect, to share where the business is going, to share the mission statement over and over again with the followers. So I have to agree that transformational is something that I would tend to follow.
So I guess that leaves me. So yeah, no, transformation is something that I definitely align with. More specifically to the empowering portion. As the book clearly points out, even an extraordinary leader cannot accomplish a great deal without capable followers. So just making sure that the mindset with everybody involved is participating, understands what the mission and values are, understand what the end result is going to be, kind of defining that culture overall, and then making sure that you have a leader that can lead by example, teach them, help them kind of come along the curve if they're not yet there, but to make them capable and competent. It's so hard to keep going back and forth because you guys pointed out so many great things so far, but just, go ahead, Diane.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to talk about, the competence, your relationship, the openness, the honesty, making sure that everybody has concerns for one another. That's really important. So yeah, there's just transformational leadership is definitely an approach that I would align with.
And what I like also about the transformational leadership is the individual-like consideration. So basically what the leadership involves offering support and encouraging the individual. So you're uplifting, you're inspiring, and you're creating that passion for the individuals to trust in that mission statement.
Absolutely.
Create and build on that culture.
Well, it sounds like that's kind of everybody kind of was led down that path. I do think that Taylor, your point about the functional approach, I think is important because you definitely can see a place for situational approaches like that because you're just forced to lead because you have to in certain situations. You know, Hurricane Katrina, 9/11. You know, people kind of going beyond their many normal approaches to things because you have to. I think that's obviously a different situation than in a business approach. So I think there's validity in the different types of approaches. I think it just kind of depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah, definitely other situation. Rising to the occasion.
Right. So we're right at 10 minutes. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to add?
No, I think everybody did a good job pointing out everything that needed to be talked about.
And then I also think that, like we always talk about business, but there's also like transitional leadership and leadership roles that you also play a part in your own too.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're at a wrap here. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the meeting for next week to do kind of the same setup. So once we get into the phone call next week, I'll go ahead and send the invites one more time just in case. But hopefully we've worked out some of our kinks this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Great.
You guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye, guys.
Thanks.